This piece of paper has absolutely no real intrinsic value. This is a piece of paper. The only thing that makes me associate value to it is my expectation that this will be accepted and can be exchanged to other things that have actual value, such as food or petrol or goods and services. But there's a problem. Inflation is attacking our money, and inflation is causing our money to lose its value as we speak. In this video, I'm going to attempt to discuss what inflation is and what you can do to save your assets from losing their value to inflation. My name is Gustav Kiss and I'm a procurement commodity manager in my day job, meaning that I negotiate prices, terms and conditions with my suppliers. And in the recent years, I have seen from up close how the price of commodities have risen and how our money has been less and less valuable and capable of buying steel and cars and things like that. The value of money is the amount of goods and services that it commands. That is known as the real value, while the money value of this very banknote is 10 euros. That is the nominal value. The euro, on the other hand, has lost 38% of its value since it was introduced in 1999. That means that 1 euro in 1999 is worth 1.61 euros today, averaging out at around 2% of inflation every year. But there are other more extreme examples. For example, in Venezuela in 2021, inflation was 1,588% just in 1 year, but that was not even the highest. The highest was 65,000% in 2018. That means that the Venezuelan bolivar has lost 90% of its value every 3 months. But what causes money to lose its value? Well, there's three main reasons for inflation. The first is known as the demand pull inflation, and that's exactly what happened on the market of metals as well as energy in the first stages of COVID. Because in the first stage of COVID, everybody stopped, of course, but people still wanted to buy those goods and services. So when we've been able to go back to work and start producing again, the supply was lower than the demand. And that's exactly true for metals as well as energy. The companies that were looking to buy those commodities wanted to buy them anyway because they needed it for the production, but there was a limited amount. So companies had to bet on each other and drive the prices higher in order to gain access to the available material, which was in scarcity. This is the first reason for inflation. The second reason is known as cost push inflation. If you take steel, for example, steel is used in the production of cars. Now, cars obviously need to be more expensive to pay for the more expensive steel. The producers of cars have two options when they are looking to buy steel. It's either to go out of business or continue to produce and just sell their products higher. And as long as people are willing to buy those products, so there's a demand for them, the prices will rise. The same thing has happened in the cost of foods because the cost of oil has increased the price of fertilizers, which is one input in the production of foods and agricultural products. But also the cost of energy and materials and even labor has caused the price of any product to increase in the recent years. And then the third reason for inflation is known as the built-in inflation, and that is the expectation that inflation will continue. So workers, for example, will demand higher wages in order to compensate for the raised prices of products and in order to keep the real value or the purchasing value of their wages. Now that causes two things. One, the demand will remain high, so the demand pull inflation will still occur, but also the increased cost of labor will increase the price of any product that was produced by those people, those workers, which then raises the price level. So then the workers will have to negotiate a higher wage again in the next year. So this goes in cycles and this can stay with us basically indefinitely. Losing value is inherent to money, but money was never intended to store value. Money was always intended to be a tool used in the exchange of value. All the money that you don't need in the short term could then be invested into things that have true real value and things that maintain their value or even increase their value. But how much money should you own? As a rule of thumb, they say you need to have 6 months of your salary saved up in a rainy day fund, I find that to be more than necessary. If you have 6 months of salary saved up, go ahead and invest about half of that. At least that's what I would do. The amount of money that you need to have on your hands is the amount that is necessary to pay for expenses that you have a risk of occurring in the next, let's say, 5 days. So if your car breaks down and you need to have it repaired, or you need to rush somewhere and then you need to buy fuel to do that, any of those short-term expenses that you anticipate occurring or you have a risk of occurring, you need to be able to pay for that and therefore maintaining your liquidity. But anything that is beyond that time frame, it can be invested, because in a month you would be able to sell some stocks and recover some money from those accounts. And when you're investing your money, it's a very good idea to stick with productive assets. So that is usually stocks, so parts of actual companies that generate a revenue or have the option or the expectation that in the future they will generate some revenue. I would stay away from non-productive assets such as precious metals like gold. Gold is a good way to avoid inflation, because gold has, in the last generations, have more or less kept its real value, but it doesn't turn a profit, unlike stocks, which have a tendency over the long term to turn a profit. The same is true for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Dogecoin or all the others. Those are just things that people buy with the expectation that they will be able to sell them to someone else for more money. And in that case, they are not much different from this piece of paper. So my advice, stay away from non-productive assets. Owning rentable real estate is also a very good idea for an investment that turns a profit. Those topics will be covered in later videos. If you like this one, please give us a like or consider subscribing. I thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next one.